All right, just a public announcement. We all need to blame Gennady Golovkin for ruining the Canelo Triple G rematch. Okay, now according to the brilliant-minded people at First Take, Espn, Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, according to them, this is basically, it's all Golovkin's fault, and here we are. Look, I try to respect everyone's opinion. I really do, but it just seems like either I'm just way off, or there's certain people in the media that are like paid to defend Canelo. I don't know which one it is, because even certain YouTube channels out there will defend him no matter what. But then you have like the other 90% of the people that will not. Now maybe they do it to create a little attention. I don't know. But look, let's get into it, okay? This is like an immediate reaction, unscripted. I don't have any notes, nothing like that. But basically, First Take, ESPN, they open up. Well, first of all, it's titled, okay, their reaction, okay, to Canelo's 6-month suspension, which was a joke. It's their reaction, okay? They open up the segment with, according to sources, it was Gennady Golovkin's attorney sending a letter and forcing the hand of the Nevada Athletic Commission at suspending Canelo Alvarez. So what they're trying to say is, basically, his attorney made them do what they did. Had Gennady Golovkin not forced the issue and gave the interviews and said what he said to, to the public, to the media, that none of this would have happened. Fight would have been, would have carried on, as usual, business as usual. But isn't that why? Let's back up. Isn't that why the Nevada Athletic Commission is here? Okay, they're here. That's their job. That's why they are here. A huge part of why they're here. They're here to enforce, the rules and the regulations and to mandate. Okay, that's what we have, a commission for. So I don't understand their argument here, but. Okay, and then the host, she says to Max, how does Canelo's suspension make Triple G look given this report? Okay, the report that his attorney, forced the hand of the commission, right? Golovkin's attorney forced the hand of the commission. He says, well, short term he looks good, but the fallout makes Golovkin look bad because rather than fighting his mandatory, he's fighting Marty Rosen, okay, the guy he's going to be fighting May 5th, okay? Basically saying, he looked good for calling him out on the PEDs, but now he looks bad, for, taking a weak opponent, which, I was going to wait till later on the video, but I was going to say it now. Look, this is like high level elite boxing. Okay. When you've got literally, 20 something or 30 days to throw together a fight, what are you supposed to do? I understand, and look, I try to be fair on the channel, and actually, I'm going to make a video about the things that I'm disappointed in with Gennady Golovkin. But what do? You've gone through this roller coaster. You think you're fighting Canelo, he pops dirty. Kind of like what Deontay Wilder went through, right? Okay, then what do you do? This isn't a game. These guys are elite, high level professional boxers, right? This is not just some high school tournament, right? It's not just a bunch of guys behind the gym class with some gloves on, man. This is like millions and millions of dollars on the line. So, to me, I understand why they maybe picked an easier opponent, okay? And not to mention, they have a plan, and why let Canelo and Golden Boy disrupt that plan? If your plan is to rematch Canelo, go after Billy Joe Saunders, and then take your mandatories somewhere in between along the way at the end, whatever, the mandatories, they'll get their shot, then what's the problem? It's not that Gennady Golovkin is ducking his mandatory. He'll fight the mandatory, but right now it's not a good option, okay? And being, the champion, you have options, right? You're in control. So, I do understand. I don't like it. I wish he would have just taken the mandatory now. I know in my other video I said, he would have annihilated that kid, this Sergey, Darvinchenko, or he would destroy that kid. All right. And, and I'm tired of hearing, oh, well, you got to look at his highlights, look at his resume. Look, I've watched every single fight. And yeah, he's good. He's a big, strong, young kid. But with what, 10, 11, 12 fights, 13 fights, something like that, against absolutely nobodies, so, man, Golovkin would destroy that dude. I'm telling you, the Marty Rosen fight, in my mind, is a tougher fight than that mandatory against Sergey. Okay, but anyway, Kellerman continues to say, you know, he basically took the easy way out. He was, and I'm talking about Golovkin, he was the most avoided fighter for years. The only guy that wanted to fight him was Andre Ward. I mean, in the same breath, you know, they are accusing or basically blaming Gennady Golovkin for the fallout of the whole Canelo situation. And in the same breath, he's ducking Andre Ward. I mean, just unbelievable, right? And then he's saying, you know, and now he's basically doing what others did to him. He's avoiding the real challenge to keep busy and to keep people interested, because at the end of the day, people are going to forget about it. And, you know, basically by the time September comes around, no one's going to care who Golovkin fought. Okay. You know, which actually I do agree with that. I do agree with that. But, now, Stephen A. Smith goes on to say, and this is where I got really pissed off, okay? Triple G is accusing Canelo of steroids, but then wants to continue fighting him. And he also said Golovkin insinuated Canelo was on steroids in the original fight, okay? I mean, look, it's unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. Look, they're not even mentioning the fact that Canelo failed 2 drug tests, okay? 2 drug tests, and look at the body transformation. They're not talking about the body transformation. They're not talking about the needle points, the injection marks. They're not talking about the fact that he failed 2 drug tests. Okay, all they can talk about is that you know, Golovkin's attorney, you know, sent the letter to the commission. Right? It's crazy to me. It's like, you know, to me, look, it's kind of like, let's say you're walking down the street, you get mugged, and then, you know, you turn them into the cops or whatever. Or let's say the guy gets arrested, and then you know, you give an interview, and then people blame you. Like, oh, how could you? I mean, how dare you? Like, since when does the victim, you know, become the one to point the finger at here? You know, I don't understand. When does the victim become the villain? Because they're trying to basically make Gennady Golovkin out to be a villain and to blame him when he is the victim. You know, and like I said, they didn't mention the fact that Canelo failed 2 tests. They just nothing. They didn't. It's like they didn't throw any dirt on Canelo whatsoever. Okay. And like I said, and remember, Gennady Golovkin spoke out after the fact. That's another thing to keep in mind. Golovkin, it's not like Golovkin said, oh, hey, I found out something, you know, now I'm going to ruin the fight. No, Golovkin spoke out after the commission had already launched their investigation. So if you want to blame anyone, blame the commission, okay? Because it's not like the commission is going to sweep it under the rug. I mean, they have to. No matter how you slice it, dice it, they got to address it, okay? They must address it. So, again, you know, you can't blame Golovkin, you know. And then he's also accusing Golovkin of making excuses, you know, in case he loses, or why he didn't knock out Canelo in the original fight. You know, he's basically saying, well, you know, now Golovkin is saying, well, hey, look, Canelo was on PEDs, that's why I couldn't knock him out. You know, and in case I lose in a rematch, well, hey, now you know why. That kind of, it's just absolutely crazy. Like I said, it's like someone getting mugged on the street and then blaming the victim because they spoke out against it. I mean, you know, it's shameful. What they're doing is absolutely shameful, and I'm just, you know, I'm blown away by their, I don't even know, their blindness, their arrogance, bias, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, basically, Stephen A. Smith, he said he was legitimizing a possible future loss. So, you know, but look, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to keep in mind, or I want you to keep in mind. Max Kellerman was the one that was like Mayweather's right-hand man. Remember, Floyd Mayweather was talking about how Manny Pacquiao was on PEDs for years, right? And did you ever hear Stephen A. Smith say, oh, well, Floyd's making it, you know, he's making an excuse because, you know, that way, if Pacquiao beats Mayweather, then, well, he was on PEDs. And, you know, and he's not going to fight him when he should in his prime, right? Mayweather's going to duck him in his prime because he's probably on PEDs without a shred of evidence. And Stephen A. Smith, like, stood by his side. Stephen A. Smith even made comments about Pacquiao's big head. You know, he did. You know what? I will post the audio on my channel. You know, Stephen A. Smith, he talked all that trash against Pacquiao. You know, he's a hypocrite. I mean, what he is doing is the definition of being a hypocrite. You know, like I said, he supported Mayweather. He made the same claims against Pacquiao. delegitimizing a possible potential future loss, as he says. The whole thing's bullshit. Now, Paulie Malignaggi, look, I like Paulie Malignaggi. If you don't like him, sorry, but I do. People get mad when I say that, but his reaction to me was awesome, okay? Because look, Paulie Malignaggi, in my mind, other than myself and a few other people, are the only ones in the media with the balls to tell you like it is, just directly like it is. I'll probably never get press credentials again, but at this point, I don't care. I don't want to cover that garbage anyway. Don't care. Honestly, I do not care. But his reaction, he said, a 6-month suspension with no fine and no mandatory drug testing. What's the point? Canelo could be doping right now, okay, for all we know. He's suspended and he's not going to be tested. And then Paulie also said, give him 2 years probation and, with mandatory testing. So there you go. Because basically, you got Canelo, in case you don't know, but I'm sure you do. Okay, he pops dirty, right? They retro the date back to February 17th, give him a 6-month suspension, but no fine. Okay, no fine whatsoever. It should have been like a minimum of 1 year random, spontaneous testing. Okay, 2 years. I think 2 years. But Paulie went on to say, well, you know what? They're not going to do that because they don't want to catch them again. Because if they catch them again, they're going to lose millions and millions of dollars. So, look, this wasn't even a slap on the wrist. Okay, I mean, come on. Like I said, a 6-month suspension, that's nothing for a fighter that fights twice a year. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. And, when did they catch Canelo? Think about this. When did they catch Canelo? They caught him in that off season, right? Right when he was coming into camp, starting camp, they tested him, and that's when they caught him, meaning he was cycling off, okay? Just like, Paulie's saying, he's like, he's probably in Mexico right now, shooting up, doping up, boxing, getting ready for September. And he probably is. And that's how they caught him the original, the first time around, okay? This is not some conspiracy. Anyone with half a brain can figure this out. So he said, Canelo was caught in February, meaning he was doping during his time off, or he was doping when he knew he would not be tested. Okay, so and he said, basically they're allowing Canelo to do the same thing he did before. I mean, that's all it is. They're giving him 6 months off, saying, hey, you go do whatever you want to do. You go to Mexico, you go wherever you want to go, you do what you want to do, and you're not going to get tested. There's no fines. No one's going to knock on your door next month on a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock and with a cup and say, piss in this. He's free to do whatever he wants. It's absolutely crazy. And what's crazier than any of that, than all of that, is the fact that Gennady Golovkin is to blame. I mean, I'm blown away by this. Like, really, even if I absolutely look, let's say the roles were reversed. Okay, Gennady Golovkin, he pops dirty, and Canelo speaks out against it. I'm telling you, I would totally be on Canelo's side. I mean, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's Golovkin. It doesn't matter. It's A and B. These guys are, Jane and Joe or Jim and John. Who, I don't care who they are. It doesn't matter to me. It's the principle. Okay. It's the fact that you have a cheater. That this is a violent sport. People can get hurt. People can get killed. And that's what it is. Now, imagine this. What would have happened? Let's say Canelo gets in the ring, with whoever, Amir Khan, which, he practically killed him, or even Gennady Golovkin, and he is seriously injured, and then he pops dirty. What would happen? You'd have Max Kellerman going, oh, God, they should have been tested. This is unbelievable. This is a disgrace to boxing, blah, 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 blah. That's what he would have said. But and then if you remember his original reaction, Stephen A. Smith, he was talking about how, who cares, sweep it under the rug, shut up, nobody talk about it because I want to go to the fight. I mean, there's nothing worse than an armchair quarterback, right? A guy that's never laced them up in his life, doesn't have a clue what it's like to get hit with a boxing glove like myself and many others out there. There's nothing worse, nothing worse than thinking, oh, little PEDs, like it's putting salt and pepper on a steak, like it's nothing, like it's a little. I mean, look, fighting a guy, that's natural, and fighting a guy on PEDs, it's night and day, man. It's night and day, okay? So like I said, what would have happened if Canelo, seriously hurt another fighter? you know, what would these guys be talking about then? So, you know, guys, I'll probably leave it at that. I just wanted to throw this out here. This is just an improv, whatever you call it, ad-lib type video off the top of my head. I just watched the video, and I wanted to come on here and talk about it and give you my thoughts while it's fresh in my mind. But, you know, yeah, I'm incredibly disappointed in Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman because, you know, God, where are your morals? Where are your principles? Where are your values? Like, you know, where, if you truly love boxing, then stand up and do what's right. You know, get behind, rally behind the guy that's doing good for boxing. Get behind the man that's trying to clean up boxing, okay? And stop being a hypocrite. Okay, and stop making ignorant comments because, you know, we're all getting tired of hearing them, really. I mean, you know, Stephen A. Smith, his career is going down the drain. Why? Because of comments like this. So that's my 2 cents, guys. Leave it below.